Several cities are issuing alerts. Not only that, grocery stores are getting looted. Not only that, grocery stores in certain areas are actually getting on strike. Workers are going against them. A cyber attack in a Whole Foods. A Chinese immigrant trying to bring in something that could hurt our food system. All that, every bit of those things I just said deals with chaos, but more than that, it deals with food shortages. The shortage on food is so close to us. So we need to prepare. We need to make sure that we're always ready. So we're going to talk about these stories today and how it impacts your food. And then from there, I want to impact your food in a different way. I want to make sure that you are putting up as much as you can. We're going to talk about 5 things that you should be putting up today that deals with long shelf stableness, but also safety. Remember, without food and water, you have no protection. And you will be just like everyone else, running into the stores trying to find food, running into the stores trying to stay away from the dangers, but ultimately just trying to feed your family. Let's dive into these stories today because, boy, craziness in the cities, new police issues in the cities, and we need to talk about the alerts and how it impacts your food. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new, please go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, that's okay. But let us know what you think about the content of today. Now remember, we have 2 other channels, Themacs Life, which is my wife's channel. Go check it out. You'll see her perspective on life and how we do sustainable living. Also my other channel, Life with Colby Mack, that's where we focus on showing you sustainable living, showing you prepping, showing you our home, vlogging about how we want to be independent with our children and all. Both those channels are very good at it. You know, sometimes this channel can get us down, but ultimately we're just talking about real news. The other channels help you be encouraged to see you can do this. Now let's dive into these stories because they are all very impactful when it comes to your food. Now there's new issued alerts from cities. Philadelphia was one. Dallas was one. Houston was one. Of course, different places in California. Seattle was also issued one. New York was issued. What is going on in these cities? Well, of course, these quote-unquote protests are breaking out. Actually, what it's doing is you're seeing less of the protests and more of the rioting and looting. Let's go to some stories. And what's so amazing is we talked about the Chrissy Walton yesterday and how she is paying for a lot of this. Listen to the first story. We're going to talk about it. Walmart was looted in Philadelphia. Literally almost everything gone from the store. Honestly, think of the hundreds of millions of dollars that is looted in these cities, especially in these bigger box stores like Walmart. So Philadelphia sees this. Austin, Dallas, Kansas City are all saying we're needing more police presence because we're not going to be able to control the riots. Asheville come out and said the same thing. So when we see these situations where police presence are needed in these bigger cities, why? We talked about 17 cities, and now they say it's upward of 20 cities. Now they're saying 200 protests coming on June 14th. Why is that really particular deal with our food? What we saw yesterday in Los Angeles, when all the other things were rioting, there was videos, and I showed you yesterday, of literally grocery stores being looted, Targets being looted. Now, Apple, was being looted. Several other stores that had electronics were being looted. But the ones that impact you the most is not, can you get 5 Apple phones? The one that impacts you the most is, okay, well, what if I need food? What if I need bread? What if I need meat? They've locked these stores down, these Walmarts down, like the one in Philadelphia, closed. No more food in this particular one because it was looted. Now it's under a police investigation. So if that was the place you shopped, you can't shop there anymore. Now, that is the looting problem of this situation. Police are called in. They're saying there's not enough police in these cities. New Orleans was one of those. So if we see more looting, that means less groceries and less goods for you to purchase. And not only that, say there's tons of goods there still that you could get. If they lock the store down or they cause the problem with saying it's now a criminal investigation or they have to clean up the store, again, that puts it where you can't get food or medicine from your local Walmart or supermarket. Now let's move on to another story with Kroger, Albertsons, and Safeway. Thousands of Kroger and Albertson grocery store workers are now voting to go on strike. They said upwards to 30,000 grocery store employees could be walking out of places like Fred Meyer, QFC, Safeway, Albertsons, and Kroger. Now you think about it. I want you to just think in your store, in your towns. Now, in Mississippi and our lower areas, there's a few Krogers around here, but there's not a lot of any of these other stores. However, when we went to Texas, when we went to Oklahoma, when we went to Florida, when we went to the Northeast, you started seeing a lot more Safeways, a lot more Albertsons. I saw Fred Meyer too. You know, when we went to Colorado, there's Safeways everywhere, but there's not a lot of, other stores. Okay, so if these stores are now saying we're going to go on strike and these workers are going on strike, who's going to put food on the shelves? How are they going to open the doors for a long period of time for your needs if 30,000 people go on strike? And they say it could be upwards of 50,000 by the time negotiations are done. So now we see, okay, riots and looting closes stores or causes where people don't have goods, which causes supply and demand, which causes price go up, or at least a shortage. Secondly, we see the fact that now worker strikes because of price negotiations and union rep, and that's why I always tell you about unions. I'm not against unions. I'm kind of indifferent about it because, to be honest with you, I think union reps don't actually represent their people more than they represent themselves and the bigger interest into that. So what happens is now all these people are going to end up losing jobs, and the union's like, oh, it's going to be fine. We'll make sure they get more money. The sad thing is, the 30 to 50,000 people that's going on strike is now going to affect millions of people when it comes to the grocery store. Thirdly, let's talk about another situation. Whole Foods just came out and stated that there are several of their stores that were going to be in shortage because of a cyber attack on the supplier. It says it will spark store shortages, especially over the next coming days and weeks. North American grocery wholesaler United Natural Foods said that the primary distributor, of course, is Whole Foods. It says that they were hit with the cyber attack and it caused a major disruption in getting food to Whole Foods locations, which will now cause for empty shelves. Okay, that's all grocery stores. Before we go any further, a word from today's sponsor. Remember, Father's Day is coming up. You know, there's times when I'm on the farm or even in my regular job where I can't just simply have my phone out where I can see what time it is. I'm very meticulous when it comes to keeping time and also making sure that I stay to my schedule. Well, so many times we wear things like this Apple Watch, and when I think about sports watches and watches, I kind of get worried about this. You know, the biometrics it may be taking, so it kind of freaks me out a little bit. So today's sponsor is very important to me. Veer Watches. Veer Watches has tons of different watches that best fits you. Today I'm wearing their solar-powered version of the Tactical C5 watch. It's the top seller and it has the best of both worlds. Perpetual timekeeping with incredible accuracy. 6 hours of sunlight provides 6 months worth of timekeeping. This watch can actually run off just about any kind of light source, even down to candlelight. When you worry about, who's taking your data, do I have to charge the battery? Is this thing going to be accurate forever, especially if we get into a situation where I don't have access to power? Where can I look to keep time? The C5 Tactical is a military-inspired 10 ATM watch that stands out in the Veer lineup thanks to the blacked out aesthetic, extremely impressive paint performance. As a C5 model, the watch is part of an all-time best-selling collection distinguished by its ocean-ready functionality, low-profile, case design, ultra-accurate quartz movement, and full USA assembly. Did you hear that? Full USA assembly. So not only are you getting a good high-quality watch, you're buying a watch that's made here in USA. Durable, dependable, and the best quality watch for any situation, for any job. Use the link below, save some money, and get the best quality watch made here in USA. Veer Watches, check out the link below. Thank you guys for sponsoring today's video. Let's go to 2 more stories. Wuhan researcher charged with smuggling biological materials in the US. Now, I talked about these 2 stories the last 2 days about agri-terrorism. Did you hear where that last agri-terrorist was from? That was trying to bring in researching documents. What else happened out of Wuhan? I'm just thinking, that area was known for not actually being really well with their biological supplies, correct? So now we have a researcher that has just been busted for bringing things that could cause for massive famines in America. Why do we want to bring this to America and do a study on it to see how it can eradicate our population dealing with food? It just blows my mind. It says U.S. prosecutors have charged another Chinese national for smuggling biological materials into the United States and then lying about the scheme. So if we think it's for research, we arrest the guy. He's from Wuhan, so a lot of things going against him. This is the third nationalist from China who we're not having the best relationship with right now that is charged with bringing in a specimen that could cause absolute world devastation, especially for America when it comes to our food system. It says, this is a PhD candidate from Wuhan, was arrested for landing in Detroit with this specimen that could allegedly cause for famine in America. She was the third nationalist this week, busted for trying to bring in something that could cause a plant microbe interaction to where a fungus could ruin, or spores could ruin, or worms could ruin all food. And not only food for us, but feed for the animals. Feed for the animals, animals that feed us. The package contained neither the correct documentation nor the importing roundworm information that was needed. The complaint also shows that this could be dangerous. The DNA and the functionality of what their research is could be debilitating to America. She also shows that she's loyal to the Chinese Communist Party. Oh, that's unbelievable, huh? Another story. Dr. Naomi Wolf come out and said the war on ranchers and the erosion of food freedom. It's a senior policy of the Beef Initiative sat down with the journalist Dr. Naomi Wolf, a longtime liberty advocate, and her husband, counterintelligence specialist Brian O'Shea, discussing with them, understandably, the food system and the chain of food is at a very bad, vulnerable state. The trio exposes the multinational corporations and global health bureaucracies that are taking over the food system and allowing for people not to have the freedom when it comes to food. The war on the farm, the war on the farmer, the war on our lands. So you think about it. Grocery store problems, looting and riot problems in the city where you can't get into the grocery stores. All of a sudden now we see agri-terrorism, where the dangers of the agricultural war on the big ag, of the dangers of, literally someone loyal to the Chinese Communist Party is now bringing over something that could literally cause damage to all our crops and cause a quote-unquote famine that America's never seen. And now for the local farm, like the people like me, who are trying to grow food for themselves and for their families and for their neighbors, the war is on them because the bureaucratic class is against them. And ultimately, regulation is meant to shut them down, to give more availability for the big players. So, food shortages are all around us. And we wave it off. We're like, oh, it's not in our city. Those grocery stores are not there. I don't shop Whole Foods. I shop so-and-so. I don't need this place because I have a Dollar General close. So far, what we've seen is these protests are breaking out like that. So far, we see the looting is breaking out like that. So far, we see that there's no negotiation with Albertsons and the Union and Kroger. Could there be 30,000, 50,000, then 100,000, then 150,000 workers going on strike? Maybe, maybe not. But until they hire new people, the shelves may not be stocked too well. The war on the farm. Why do you think we're building greenhouses where they work strictly off of systems that were made indoors? Because I'm worried that everything that we're putting outdoors, the more that we hear about biological warfare, the dangers are there. Does that mean I stop growing food outdoors? No. But that means I'm redundant in saying, okay, I'm going to grow indoors, outdoors. I'm going to grow in different climates. I'm going to make my own climates. I'm going to try to figure out the best way to grow food because I want independence from a regulatory dependent system. Think about if they hurt the grasslands. Think of if the spores get into the hay. Think if the spores get into the soybean and corn, even though I'm against soybean and corn because they're modified. That means more modifications coming to help render not having dangers of this kind of dangers on our food system. Kind of like the Jurassic Park thing the other day, where all the farmers can't afford to do that kind of modification, so only the modified farms of big ag can work, and that means even the farmers are dependent on big ag versus the independence of farming. We're in a serious situation. So 5 things. This is what I'm telling you to stockpile today. We're going to focus on proteins. We're going to focus on not only proteins, we're going to focus on shelf-stable proteins. So 5 things I would make sure you have on your shelf today. I'd have canned meat is number 1. If you can your own meat, I do. We can pork, we can beef, we can deer, we can lamb. We can it all. We want to make sure that we're putting up ground meat or stew meat, and so we're going to learn how to can it if we don't know how. If you can't can, or you're scared to can, or you hadn't figured out canning yet, go and buy some tuna, go and buy some canned chicken, go and buy whatever canned meat that you want, but go ahead and buy the best quality, not in oils, only in water, not with a lot of seasoning, not with a lot of stuff in it, because a lot of stuff and the preservatives in there could cause for damage. So let's make sure that we're putting up canned meat. Now, again, I want to can my own. However, if you can buy the tuna in the little miler packets, or you can buy the tuna in the can, or you can buy the chicken in the can, it's still pretty reasonable at Walmart or pretty reasonable at any other store. Let's go buy these things and get them put on the shelves because they last for years. Number 2, I challenge you to put up dehydrated eggs, dehydrated butter, dehydrated milk. Now what this is powdered milk, powdered eggs, or powdered butter. These things are your fat source, your protein source, your calcium enrichment, your nutrients enrichment, but they're also ways to put up eggs, milk, and butter, the things that are very perishable. You're able to put them up and they last for years. Do not miss out on this opportunity. So we raise all our own butter, we raise all our own eggs, and all our own milk. That milk lasts 4 to 5 days. I can make that milk last a year by freezing it. So I freeze some of it. I make that milk last 30 years by putting in the freeze dryer, and then I've dehydrated it, put in Mylar bags with the little, humidifier packets. So that milk has went from 5 days, which is the best quality, yummy raw milk, to now a year, which is in our freezers, depending on the grid, to now 30 years of independence. Same with eggs. Eggs, 2 to 3 weeks on your counter. Eggs put in the freezer, maybe a few months. Eggs put into water. Eggs put into water glassing, like quote unquote canning or liming eggs, pickling eggs, can last a few years. But then what about freeze drying eggs? Last 30 years. Butter, same way. So putting up powdered versions of dairy or eggs is key. Number 3 is peanut butter. Now, peanut butter is one of those things that it's not just full of proteins. It is actually full of fat, full of protein, and full of carbs. Something really, I call it like a well-balanced superfood. Now, a lot of people hate peanut butter. Now, I say buy organic natural peanut butter with no palm oil, no additives, no sugars, no extra salt. You can find them. Look for organic quality peanut butter. Now you'll say, well, this is not the easy spread peanut butter. Correct. Most of the time, if you're buying good quality peanut butter, that's the natural form. The oil is separated from the actual peanut, so you have to mix it or have to spin it or put an emulsifier blender in there or shake it and put it in the fridge sideways. There's a lot of things to do with it. It's not your Jif. But to be honest with you, that means it's going to last longer, but it's going to be a higher quality. And also, when we talk about this is something that I personally love. I love peanut butter. I eat it all the time. But it's because it has a lot of things. It has good carbs, good proteins, and good fat sources in a way that is unhealthy, in a way that is healthy when you don't have the one with all the preservatives. Now, peanut butter is not going to last 20 or 30 years on your shelf, but it will last a year on your shelf. It will last several months on your shelf. It will last 2 years on your shelf, depending on how you're putting it up. You can buy from some companies that actually specialize in canning peanut butter and not just in those little plastic containers. So I always tell you, don't buy seeping plastic. So I would challenge you to buy glass versions of peanut butter to put on your shelves. But this is something that you can go and you could grab 1 or 2 or 3 tablespoons a day, and you've actually got a very dense caloric benefit going into your body. And it's something that you can place on a spoon, on a piece of bread, on a cracker, and it's nutrients that you needed. It's independence. You never thought, when people hear these videos, and they're like, why is tuna and protein and canned stuff and peanut butter big deals? Because when it comes to having to run to that same Walmart that just got looted, having to get out in the cities when it's dangerous, having to go out in the situations where you can't find what you're wanting, and you're carrying your family out in all this, is it really worth it? Or is it better just to have some $2 or $3 peanut butter or $2 or $3 tuna on our shelves for safety? Be safe. Just be smart. And if I can buy some peanut butter to keep me safe, boy, that's a pretty easy change out, isn't it? Number 4 is powdered protein. So we buy a lot of whey powder protein. Now we can make our own, we freeze dry and dehydrate it, but for most people, nobody's doing that. They're going to GNC or they're going to their grocery store and buying powder protein. I would challenge you, don't buy any kind of pea protein or plant protein or soy protein. I challenge you to buy true whey protein, organic, true dairy version whey. I just think it's a better quality and you're getting better nutrients. I don't buy the one that's got all the 15 different additives in it. I don't buy the one that tastes like Captain Crunch. Don't do all that. Buy just strictly organic whey protein. A lot of times you can find a chocolate or a peanut butter that is a natural, holistic, organic peanut butter because they're using the powder of the peanut, or they're using the powder of the chocolate, and they're not having to add a lot of things in it to make it, have all these different flavors and artificial flavoring. You don't want all that. To be honest with you, most vanilla proteins are actually not natural because most of them are used with synthetics and artificial sweeteners and sugars and flavorings. Don't buy all that. So number 4, buy organic protein, put it on the shelf. Now again, it's not going to last for 30 years, but it will get you through some hard times, and also it's a great snack to keep us healthy. It's a good sweetener to be healthy because they use things that are not just pure sugar. And also it's a good filler. So what I've learned is a lot of times that when I'm on carnivore or I'm trying to cut weight or I'm trying to be healthy, like last night, the kids were going to VBS with my wife and they were gone, and so it was like, you know what, I'm gonna drink a protein shake, grab a spoonful of peanut butter, and go after doing the chores outside. So I got a very good nutrient dense, rich meal that didn't take but 4 or 5 minutes to do, and it was on my shelf that I didn't have to worry about, going to the store and buying it. It was healthier, cheaper, economic, and something that could benefit my body. Number 4, powdered protein. Now number 5 is not a true protein in whole, but it is something that you need to pay attention to. And what this is freeze-dried foods. So I would challenge you, again, don't care who you buy from. You can buy from 4 Patriots, buy Patriot Supply, Legacy Food. I don't care. I'm not sponsored by any of them. I just want you to buy some freeze-dried foods. Nutrient Survival's got one. So when we talk about that powdered eggs, powdered milk, powdered butter, a lot of these same freeze-dried food companies and food storage companies have those versions in it too. When me and Misty first got married, this has been 17, 18 years ago now, when we were engaged then getting married, we had someone reach out to us, and it was a family member, says, look, we're going to go in and buy a big load of freeze-dried foods. So we, of course, got married, kind of pushed it off, and then they did it again about 2 years later, and we went in halves and quarters in with these monster loads of freeze-dried foods. This was before we were actually true preppers. This was before we started growing a lot of our food. So, and we lived in town for one thing at this point. This was years and years and years ago. So when we first got married, we may not could have prepped like we wanted to. We didn't have the money, we didn't have the funds, we didn't have the land, but we had the availability to go in halves or quarters with the family and to say, you know what, let's buy some freeze-dried foods. So we started buying freeze-dried foods. Now we've got now we're doing our own freeze-dried foods, but before we even did all that, we had containers full of freeze-dried foods that lasted 2, 3, 5, 7 years worth of supply that lasted 25 to 30 years per person. So when you have freeze-dried foods and you buy these canisters, this may be one of the best buys you can get, because not only a lot of them are nutrient rich. Don't buy the cheap ones that just gives you heavy empty carbs. Buy the ones that's got nutrients and minerals and supplements in it that could help you. So some of them have soups, some of them have shakes, some of them have eggs and milk, some of them have just things like macaroni. Some of them have these like crackers and hard bricks worth of brownies. And I'm not saying you want to live off black bean burgers and freeze-dried foods forever, but I promise you, when we had storms here, when there's chaos in our towns, when 2020 happened, it just was easy sometimes to say, let's just go grab some things out of there. My son got to where they had like these nutrient dense protein bars. I mean, like super dense and super calorie rich. And when he was trying to put on weight and muscles, he was like, Dad, can I just eat these? I'm like, yeah, they're there for us to eat. So these bars, they were for survival, but they were really just for him to snack on too. Sometimes knowing we have food on the shelf gives us independence and sustainability. So when we think about the dangers that's going on around us, when we think about our cities going up in flames, when we think about shortages at the supermarket, when we think about cyber attacks that are affecting our food, when we think about agritourism where we may not can grow our food because now there's some kind of spore in the air or spore in our ground, when we think we can't go to the farmer because his grasslands have been taken away and wasted away because of some kind of varmint that this Chinese nationalist brought over, you start thinking, wow, it'd be good to have some independence, wouldn't it? Buy some freeze-dried food today. Every one of these things can be picked up and you can buy them in pieces. Now, do we want to buy grains and beans and all? Yes, absolutely. But when we talk about things that are shelf-stable, stuff that are very packed with nutrients, things that are good for our muscles and bodies, especially in times when we may not have as much food, I don't want empty calories such as just rice and beans. I want protein. And this is a good list to start off with. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about today's video. Also remember, check out the sponsor of today's video. We have Father's Day coming up. Do not miss out on the opportunity to buy your father something nice. We are so humbled by your support each and every day, and we hope that you get something out of these lists, something out of the news that we share. More than that, realize the world that we're living in. Thank you guys. God bless.